divides are interested in understanding from your side certain issues relating to the operation of the entity, which is of great interest to the people of South Africa because there are a lot of complaints about unpaid claims and so forth. We only hear today that with the CIO, there are challenges with the CIO, who's also now suspended and all that. We would want you to take us into confidence so that as a citizen of South Africa who wants to help this committee to achieve its oversight responsibility, we trust you can do that. I'm going to allow you an opportunity to reflect. We'll give you 5 minutes, 5 minutes summatively to take us through. From there, honorable members will be given 3 minutes each to ask you questions, and then you'll answer, then we'll close. I think that will be sufficient. We must appreciate the fact that you came. The secretary did indicate to me yesterday that you had a challenge in relation to the approvals of your travels because of the existing issues with the board and so forth. That is noted. We appreciate the fact that you're able to arrive. I'm going to allow you an opportunity, and over to you.
No, thanks very much, Chair. Thank you very much to honorable members. I don't take it for granted, the opportunity I get. I must say a lot of South Africans that find themselves in my position never really get the opportunity to air their side of the story, and I think it's important. I don't think that it's only important to me. I think it's important to my family. It's important to my kids. It's important to my father, who is not doing very well. And this thing keeps on happening to me, Chair. I don't know what I've done to South Africa. But I'm going to explain this thing because it is not for the first time, Chair, I appear in front of PCOT. Last time I appeared under the same guise was at Prasa, where I was accused of having paid myself 350%. And it was shocking that someone can say it's the first time in the history and all that, because that's not true. But I think what becomes important, I think one is that I'm being muzzled, and you'd see it with the continuous decisions that are taken. I'm being muzzled because I'm vocal about a couple of matters. But let's start firstly here, Chair. I came here with the money of my children. Yeah. I have booked myself in because apparently I can't fly. I don't know whether I'm fired or not, to come to honor an invitation by PCOT. You would recall, Chair, that I am on suspension because apparently I refused to come to Scopa. Now, I don't know whether I was supposed to not come also to PCOT when PCOT invites me. I've written to the Chair, and I think I've given to the Secretariat of your committee the response I got that I must not be here. In fact, I might just be charged again for insubordination because one of the conditions is that I must be in Gauteng. I must be in Gauteng. I must not leave Gauteng. I must be in Gauteng. So I am actually breaching that condition by honoring your invite. So I hope I'll get the protection I need in that regard, because I might just wake up and find myself with this. Chair, there's no crisis at the RAF. You say it's a circus. There's no crisis at the RAF. It's man-made. It starts because of my appointment, and I'm going to give you a sense of what's happening. And I'm going to show you that we have achieved what we have achieved in spite of the lack of support from the executive authority or the department. Let me just say the department because I think it's in the main. And I hasten to add this because when you say these things, people make it personal. The reality is this, and I think much as the deputy minister was allowed to say things, I'm sure I'm allowed to say this thing, Chair. that the Deputy Minister has taken off from his time at Scopa to continue with, I don't think it's even personal, it's a thing he has against the RAF. And I'm going to show you through this process. So we have a draft amendment bill. It is in the department, it has not moved. I think since 2022. We've got a funeral benefits cap memo that we wanted to get in terms of section, I think it's 11 of the RAF Act. The board is allowed to advise the minister on matters concerning regulations. It's there in terms of the Act. I think I must just give you the provision. I think it's 11.4. I'll be correct here. 11.1a, Roman figure 5, which says the board shall, subject to the powers of the minister, exercise overall authority over the financial position, operation, and management of the fund, and may inter alia, A, make recommendation to the minister in respect of, it says, any regulation to be made under this Act. So we do that. There is an actuarial calculator that has been put in there, because what we are finding is that a lot of money goes to a thing called the general damages. We don't know what that is. A lot of lawyers would go and say a lot of things, and then we're paying money, and it's something that is not understood. And then, of course, there is issues around appointment of board members. There is a representative of the board that comes from the department. They don't tell you that they appointed that person, I think, this Monday. Before then, since the former representative left, they have not appointed any person. And of course, then there is issues around the reappointment, which I'll come to. And then I'm going to tell you about the SIU, because I think it becomes important that when you deal about this issue, Chair, you think about this issue about the SIU and what had happened in this regard. So all these things are stuck in the Department of Transport, and they have not gone anywhere. We have been asking for them to come, they have not. In fact, the only thing that they did is that we received a letter from the Deputy Minister talking about the withdrawal of the draft amendment bill. Those that pride themselves with stopping this had told us that this thing will be withdrawn. And indeed it was withdrawn. Replaced with what? The so-called RAPS bill, which failed in Parliament. But we have never got anything like a gazette that says it was withdrawn. It's a letter like that. And when we asked, we were told we'll have a meeting. Then, of course, the next part is you then have you'd have received our strategic plan of 2025-2030. And I want to invite you to read page 2 there of what the minister says. The minister says we'll continue with the draft amendment bill. Remember, we were told it was withdrawn, but the minister says we'll continue with it. And I think the DM keeps on going back and saying, well, there is the RAPS bill. What is happening here? At the center of this is the soul of the RAF that needs to be captured by certain individuals. And it has taken some form. And you see this board going all over. And Chair, it's because they are scared. They are fearful. They've been threatened. They are acting out of character simply because they've been threatened. So they've been divided. Because they have held the fort. 84.5% performance in an organization where you don't get a cent. Okay? Go to SAA, they received money. Go to Transnet, they received money. Go to PRASA, they received money. Go to South African Post Office, they received money for their turnaround. The turnaround of RAF has never got a single cent. And that's a fact. So, that's a fact. So, what do they then do? Then, there are those that we found in the RAF. People that used to get 1.2 billion a year. In fact, at the time, when we started this work, Michael Di Broglio said to me, the lowest amount I got was only 65 million a month. He used to get, Adams and Adams used to get 100 million a month. Those were called fixed allocations. How did they happen, Chair? There was an agreement with certain law firms. Big as they are, and people are going to say I'm making it about black and white. Check them. If they are white or black, go and check them, the top 20. They used to get 1.2 billion each and every year at the top, which is Adams and Adams, Hartnell and Associates, Di Broglio and all the others. What did they do? They used to take that money, allocate it to their clients. We changed that. We said the oldest debt first. It doesn't matter whether you come from Makotlang, we incorporated at the corner, but the oldest debt first. At the time, which is going to explain the issue of Mr. Modiba, you'll see it. At the time, those law firms in the top 20 had probably 30 days. There were law firms that were sitting with 1,800 days of debt. So we came as finance people, we said we must stratify this debt. And I think Mr. Modiba was at the center of it, to stratify the debt. What did it do? We stopped payment to the ones that were 30 days, and we were saying all of them must come closer, and then we agreed on 180 days. We went to court, we asked for 45A to support that, to suspend certain court orders until 180 days. Hell broke loose. Because suddenly, these law firms that used to make a lot of money out of RAF did not make it. And we got on. As we get on, people just put the pressure, they piled the pressure, they piled the pressure. And they piled the pressure on the board chair. It's painful to watch this board made up of seasoned professionals. The chairperson of the audit committee is an actuary. Okay? There are doctors in here. They are serious people. So, decisions are taken. So, when did this sudden disconnect happen? And where people try to throw each other under the bus? And I want to settle, Chair, because I want to allow you guys to ask questions. When did this happen? So, somewhere in November last year, I pick up that certain law firms have hired a company called Communicate. And these law firms were going to use, and I've said this in public, Chair, so I'm going to repeat it again, certain professors, one of them being Henny Klopper, but other professors as well, to try and put this mounting campaign about Letsoalo and the fact that he must never see his way back into the RAF. And I pick it up, I raise it, and I know certain editors also met, but I know their names, and I told them, I said, well, sue me if you are saying all that. And I've been threatened with being sued, but I'm not worried because, you must come under oath, and I've got that information. So they start this campaign. Then it takes the form of attacking the board, trying to separate me from the board, isolate me, do a couple of things. We discuss this with the board. We agree this is the direction we must go, and we must keep on. So this had started, Chair, a long time ago, but it was before the hiring of this
as
company.
you summarize.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Then suddenly I get a call from the chair somewhere around February that says, I just had a meeting with the deputy minister. He is of the view, and she raised this issue that the AXA CEO's position was not advertised. And that that creates issues, and the preference of the ministries that the position must be advertised, my position. So I say, but Chair, what was the nature of this meeting? And what were you discussing? And who called it? And what was the thing? But in any event, you are talking to me, I'm conflicted because in my view, I still want to stand a chance whether you go to advertise or whatever the board decision would be. Then this apparently went to the board. Of course, when they discussed those matters, I recused myself because I'm conflicted. But that's where it happened. So this instruction to go and advertise started long before. It goes to the board, and apparently it does not find favor. And how do I get to know about it is because then I'm asked to go and write a 360. This 360 comes as a decision of the ministry in August last year, I think. Yeah, in August last year, we were called, all of us, and we were told there is a thing called reappointment of CEO. And if there is a reappointment that is required, Chair, yeah, by the way, there are CEOs there that have got, they are on their third term at the Department of Transport. And they said, if you want that, you must bring this and the 360. That's how I got. So my 360 ends on the 14th of May. I did my 360 on the 14th of May, meaning there was a decision to reappoint. So then what also happens in this space is that we are now pushed at Scopa. This thing come. And there's an SIU thing. So we receive a letter. It's a strange letter that says there is some sort of interference, but it comes from the minister. There is some sort of interference. Please warn executives if they are. We say, "Lo, what is this now?" But it came after the meeting of the 25th of April, where I think it's in this very room where Scopa was, or whether it was online, but it was where the SIU had been saying things, disparaging things. And I had been engaging them, by the way, and that they are not allowed, they are not working according to this, and then this is what happens. But Chair, they must tell you that yesterday, the DM said to them, there shall never be any letter that comes here that talks about reappointment. He instructed the board. And yesterday they went and discussed also about the fact that they made a mistake by not adding this thing of the SIU in my letter. But they're saying this in front of executives. Of course they were going to tell me. So they are aware of this thing. So the pressure is coming from the ministry, Chair, led by the deputy minister. There's no question about it. He can say that. I'll tell him the number of letters. Every other week we receive a letter at the RAF. We must respond to it. You must ask them the number of special meetings they had to hold because they've taken a decision. Somehow it went out of the board and the DM is aware of it. Then suddenly a letter comes that says, why are you deciding this? Why are you deciding that? So, Chair, is it true that there is interference at the RAF? So this thing is trying to create a whirlwind where this thing must just be seen as this mini mess. There is no state entity or any entity, Chair, that can perform consistently at the rate average 85% over 5 years that is in this mess. So there's no mess here. The difficulty, Chair, of the other members is that they can't raise their hands, they can't say it. I thought today they'll be given an opportunity, Chair. They must tell you what's happening in there. I'm happy that you'll go and to get the letter that comes from the audit committee. I'm sure it will raise issues. Lastly, Chair, they are just lies that have been told. It's not misrepresentation. So, one is that you are told I received my letter before they came here on the 3rd. No. I received my...
Let's not say lies. Let's say misleading information for our sake.
Okay, Chair.
Yeah, for the sake of our record.
It's fine, Chair. Can I be allowed to use a fib? Is it a fib?
No, just use misleading
Okay.
information.
So there's disinformation, misinformation, and all that. My letter I received on the 25th, 25 past 9. I was watching. As my suspension was there, everyone in South Africa was seeing it. My children are seeing it for the first time. I've not even spoken to them. There it is. My wife sees this. She calls me, what's going on? I'm like, love, I don't know. All right? The suspension of Mr. Modiba, the very same thing, Chair. All right? But, Chair, I want to touch on one aspect. I'm going to deal with that. But, yeah, as I conclude, because then there is a story about the 27th, the 28th. No, I was coming here. In fact, I can give you tapes of what the chair says. Apparently, this thing was about to be compassionate leave. She was supposed to talk to me as the chairperson, and suddenly this is a decision that is taken to place me on special leave. That was not a board decision, Chair. I can assure you. So now, every time these other board members raise issues, they are then muzzled. So I come here, I fly on the 27th at night. They know that I'm flying at a 9 o'clock flight. Then at 10 to 11 at night is then that I receive no one even says, check your email, nothing. As I'm preparing to come to Scopa at around 7, I wake up, I check. Oh, I see this thing. It's even telling me who's going to act on my behalf. Of course, I call the part 2 and I say, part 2 take over, and he's resisting. No, I can't go there without you. No, go, man. It's fine. Because the aim was that if I come here, then I'll be insubordinating. If I came here, Chair, I would be insubordinating the letter that placed me on an unlawful special leave. Okay, so I decided to stay in the hotel. I watched this whole drama at the hotel. I had the chair sitting here adding reasons for my special leave, which were not even in the letter. But then, fast track, the next day, Chair, they were, as I conclude, they were at all these things they are doing now, suspending this person, doing this, and ultimately they want to remove part 2 as well. The aim was, they went there, the REMCO chairperson, the deputy chair and the chair went into rough offices. Fortunately for us, someone was sitting next door and listened to everything they were saying. It was to suspend me, suspend Sefutle, suspend Mambi, Kumalo, remove Mpomanyasha back to her position, put part 2 is malleable, they can do whatever they want to control him, and then appoint certain people. In that meeting, they were calling people that were below us. Come here, tell us about this. We want to appoint you in that position and all that. That's what they will be doing the next day after the 28th. I wrote them a letter on the 30th because they had said that my special conditions were going to be discussed by the 30th, and they didn't. And they did not bring it to the attention of the board. Notwithstanding the fact that they had told me. When I realized it, that Saturday on the 31st, I sent them a letter. And in it, they were saying a lot of other things. You'll see it in my papers, Chair. It's attached there. But, Chair, I'm sitting here. The chair has arrived here with her bodyguards. They've taken away my security. I flew alone. The likes of Bonitas, the likes of Gertnel and Associate, the likes of any other person in the interest of South Africans. This 50 billion that we talk about was going into those hands. Today it's sitting in the hands of South Africans, and I'm proud of it. Anything that happens to me, Chair, I'm not a coward. I've never been brought up like that. And for me, it's fine.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, I'm going to allow you, I think the information to a great extent is sufficient. If you may say you are not answered, but I'll allow you opportunity to raise straight, no background, colleagues, straight to the point, questions, and then he responds, we close. Montana, let's start there.
Thanks, Chair. I think I'll be very brief. Number one, Chair, let's start. Let me ask the question about, you asked the question about on the 3rd, that when when the deputy chair of the board spoke about the legal advice and the change to a from what is called special leave to a suspension. When was Mr. Letsoalo given notice? Because you were given an assurance that he has already been served. So when we met, that's the first question. The second issue, did the letter of suspension ask him to provide reasons? Ask him to provide reasons within certain period of why it shouldn't be suspended. That's the second issue. Thirdly, Chair, I want to know in terms of the legal fees that we are talking about. I think the board mentioned earlier on that they have this milestone of 50 billion rands that has never been done before in terms of putting that money in the hands of claimants. That's what the chair says. And I think that you presented to, when we were at the REF, you presented about the growth in that claims thing, and what you think the trend is. And finally, Chair, I think what I want to ask is the support that the REF, because I heard you talking that there are all this, the bill is there, amendment, the REF Amendment Act and everything is sitting at the DOT, the advice that the board should be giving. What support has the DOT given to the entity during this entire period? I think when the board was trying to make, or rather the board and management was trying to make all these changes, did you get support? Did you meet with the minister, or did you meet separately with the deputy minister on behalf of the minister? I think for me that will give me a sense of the support that you get. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Quebec, straight to the point.
Yo. Thanks, Chair. Chair, the acting CEO spoke of a saving of 50 billion rands, or not a saving. He said there was 50 billion rands that was paid to claimants. Now, the money that was saved there, I wanted to ask the CEO. That's the first question. Where did that money go? What was, or where did they get that money? Where was the saving coming from? I don't know if I'm making sense, Chair. Okay, that's one. And then I wanted to ask the board chair, but you said I must hold it with. I'm not even sure if it's the correct person is the former CEO to ask this question. The question is, when the initial decision to suspend you was taken by the board, do you know if there was a full sitting of the board or not? And if it wasn't, who was there and who was not there? The next question, did the board approve the lease agreement with Moana, the lease agreement which basically constitutes bulk of the issues that started this whole interrogation and this whole issue with the CEO? Or was that decision taken by you as the CEO alone? I think, Chair, the problem that we've got here is we've got the APP for performance at RAF sitting at 85% with 50 billion rand paid to claimants. And then we are told that RAF is in chaos. RAF is in a bad place, bad space. But I'm inclined to now start believing the former CEO when he says this is deliberately created. So the question then would be, who are these vultures that are trying to capture RAF? Because there are vultures that are clearly, from what is just said now, and from the circus that we watched earlier, that are trying to destabilize RAF, that are trying to make sure that the RAF is ungovernable, that are trying to make sure that they remove the board, that are trying to make sure that they remove the executive. Now, to the CEO, who are these vultures? CEO, thank you.
Shikomba.
No, thank you, Chair. Mine is very few, Mr. Letsoalo. I want to check. Do you believe that there's corruption within RAF? And if you believe that there's corruption within RAF, what is your attitude towards corruption? And then the other issue that I want to check from you, in terms of governance, do you see RAF being led properly in a manner in which it's actually supposed to be led as an individual, given the years of leadership that we have been from previous companies or departments where you used to work? Do you see RAF being led properly? Just explain in depth the interference of the ministry, because I think I heard you mention something of the interference of the ministry. To what extent? And what does the ministry stand to benefit or want to achieve with the whole thing? And then the other thing that I want to check, it's your security. Every time when I was watching TV the other day, you were interviewed. Half of the time when you get platform, there's no way you speak and you don't touch the issue of your own security. You're always consistent about security, that you are under threat. There are people who are threatening you. Are you aware of those people? Who are those people? Because, Chair, as I conclude, yes, as I conclude, Chair, because we may take these things very light, and tomorrow we wake up with someone dead who have been telling us that I'm under threat. So I just want to check: are you aware of the people who are threatening your life? Because if they don't get you as a man, you may protect yourself, but you may not be able to protect your kids or anyone close to you. Who are those people? Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Chairperson, briefly, CEO, the question has been asked, but I want to elevate it in terms of support from the department. I think the ministry has in this administration, we've been here for a year now, 12 months. And I asked this on the basis that I've got a letter here from Discovery that was written to the Minister Barbara. Are you aware of this letter? Did you
Minister
respond?
Chrissy.
Oh, Minister Barbara Chrissy. Yes. Oh, I'm reading verbatimly, so apologies about that. Yes. So this letter, CEO, was written by Discovery to the minister, complaining about you and RAF. And they are even claiming here that your conduct to take them to court. It says here, Chair, if I can just read this, if you give me 30 seconds. Discovery Health estimates the loss to the medical scheme industry as a result of RAF and its CEO unlawful conduct. The estimated loss is approximately at 500 million a year. So this is Discovery complaining to the minister that they are going to lose 500 million a year because you are taking them to court. You have won this case subsequent. So I want to find out, what support did you get from the ministry in regarding to this case? And that speaks to the support that you've received.
I know you have a right to information. I may not want to ask where to get the letter between the ministry and Discovery, which...
Chair, Discovery gave it to me. The people at Discovery leaked it. So I want to know if the CEO is aware of this letter, and because
the RAF has won the case against us. And is he aware of this letter, that there was a letter from Discovery to the minister complaining about him and the NCT? And then what would have happened with that? That's one. And then now, CEO, you are accused of signing the court papers litigating against the AG at Constitutional Court. How did that become? How did you end up signing those papers? And why were you the one who signed those papers? And then, 3, you have taken RAF to court because of your suspension. What relief are you seeking there in court, if you are able to give us that brief without actually getting into the matters? And maybe lastly, Chair, obviously now you've briefly touched on the precautionary suspension or the leave, the special leave that you were placed by refusing to attend SCOPA. Did you refuse to attend SCOPA? What was happening there? If you can just put us into confidence. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chair. But me, very briefly, because I believe, at least finally, the Portfolio Committee has achieved the objective of having Mr. Letsoalo here speak for himself, so that the next time the board comes here and we're to make a determination, it would be out of having a full range of facts. Just for clarity, Mr. Letsoalo, for me, I just need to know about the misconduct allegations around the 79 million lease deal. That's I think that's all I want to know. And I mean, when they speak about misconduct vis-a-vis the turnaround of the entity, it gets a little confusing, especially given the letter that Honorable Blosse has just read, that your misconduct is somehow related to unlawful behavior when it comes to sort of cleaning up the entity. Just in your view, do you think that these types of letters and the misconduct that you're accused of is just like really targeted with your against your attempts to sort of clean up the entity? That's all I would really like to know, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Ngomban.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Chair, most of the issues have been touched. It's only 2 now left for me. The first one is that Mr. Letsoalo received his the letter of intention or whatever on the 26th of June, if I heard correctly, putting him on compassionate leave, which later changed to special leave, but they committed to call or interact with him on the 30th of May, which they indicate. Then you decided to write to them. Were you reminding them of their commitment, or what was the content of the letter that you wrote to them on the 30th? The last one, Chair. After seeing these challenges that RAF is faced with, this instability and, all those kinds of activities that are happening there, which office have you informed about that? And also around your security matters, have you reported to the relevant authorities that may assess the situation and ensure that some security provision is made for you? Thank you, Chair.
Thanks very much. Honorable Dando Matuna.
No, thanks, Chair. Indeed, it's Honorable Dando Matun. No, thanks, Chair. Chair, I will follow suit and be very short. But Chair, I just want to first, perhaps, but I think it's an indulgement that we'll have as a committee afterwards. I'm also as well starting to be worried. I'm not saying that the minister is interfering. There's something in auditing that we usually say, you do not have to interfere, but you must be seen to be not interfering. I believe now there is that thing that now that starts to say there might be an interference, but I believe it's a conversation that we might have at at a later stage and the reasons as to why. I have a very short questions. Actually, I'm coming to the issue of the issue of if you get the timelines. Yeah, Chair. But my first question would be, because I think Mr. Letsoalo clarifies me, because my first question would have been around the issue of the special leave. Because, Chair, in South Africa, there's nothing as placing someone on a special leave. Because I was there in scope, and the reasons that would have been given would have been that it's because of issues that are related to SIU investigations and so on. And we told them this. They said to us they had received a legal advice. That today they are saying that they seeked afterwards, because we told them that you can't place someone on special leave. You apply for special leave, then you are given. When someone is interfering on an ongoing investigation, you put that someone on precautionary suspension. We told them this on the 28th of May, I think, when we were sitting with Raf. Now, my first question to Mr. Letsoalo, one would be, I think I'm covered by would be around the issue of building. There are allegations, Mr. Letsoalo, in the public domain that you went against the recommendations of, I believe it's adjudication and evaluation in the appointment of the building in Joburg, whereby you ended up appointing the building. I think it's the building of the pension fund. That's one. Two, I wanted to check the issue of, because now the reason why Chair, I've been asking this, because I want us to have clarity. I wanted to check as well on the issue of accounting standards with HE that has been ongoing. I believe that this was a decision approved by board. I just want to get that clarity. Two, as well, I want on the issue that when the decision was taken that you are going to act as Chief Claims Office, it was board aware of this decision, and I think Chair will say if he's not comfortable of answering certain things. Was board aware of this decision? Because were they aware of this decision? Also, Chair, I think the last question that I would have had would have been the issue of the building, or the issue of default judgment. There is an issue of default judgments in courts whereby you are supposed to be using the what is this legal aid, but local state, yes. Yes. Now, though we are told that they go to court and say that they just came here to just observe, not to represent. But can you give clarity to that? And it's estimated that the default judgment that we have accumulated are close to 4 billion. So can we get clarity on that? I'm asking these questions, Chair, so that also the public gets clarity in terms of what is happening, where are we. I know we'll engage alone on the committee, and then we take a decision in terms of how we move forward. I thank you, Chair.
Thanks very much, Honorable Maduna. Honorable Malmaja.
No, thanks, Chair. Thanks, Mr. Letsoalo, for availing yourself. Just 3 questions. One, after realizing that you are not safe in terms of the threat that you are getting, have you made some efforts to notify the relevant authorities so to be safe? Because indeed, we will want you to live longer, so to assist to give more information when we deal with the whole issue. The other issue is on your relationship with the ministry, the chairperson of the board, the entire board. Why this? We really want to have a situation where we know the relationship of the CEOs and the ministers, the deputies, and everybody, not just around yourself alone, even other entities, because we will really need, as the portfolio committee, to ensure that there is good relationship. Otherwise, we'll find ourselves having to cut and chop endlessly. The other issue, Mr. Letsoalo, on this issue of lease, is there a reason why RAF, with such monies that is going out left and right, back to center, cannot just acquire a land and have its own properties, rather to be leasing so much, if not huge, millions going out? Is there or are reasons why this cannot happen? Even under your leadership, decisive as you are, but I don't see any attempt of saying at some stage we wanted to have our own land so that we can have our own offices and save this monies of the claimants. Because if we continue leasing this way, I don't think we're doing justice to what's supposed to happen. Chair, I think those, maybe to add this one of the SIU, you said and you promised here that you will go bit by bit in it so that we know it's like it's an elephant that we can't know whether it's moving or not. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks very much. Just one or two from me. The claims officer, it is alleged that you acted for a long time as a claims officer, and the board was not comfortable with that in terms of the reports we're getting. Why did it take so long to appoint a claims officer? Because the claims are at the center of RAF's business. Now, why did it take so long? Especially with the background that we hear now that the board was actually not happy with you being the claims officer. I also aware of the particular matter that the claims officer was not, the board was not happy with that, to that effect. We met with you, Mr. Letsoalo, and your board sometime last year in October in your offices, in which meeting all of you projected a sense of united approach to almost all the issues and challenges you're faced with, including the processes thereof that you're actually undergoing at that particular time. We did not get this sense at that particular time of that you are making now of ministerial, the DM, what to call it, interference. We also didn't know at that time that the ministry has not appointed a shareholder rep into your board. And these matters did not emerge in that particular meeting, unless I would have missed it, but I went back to check my record today. These issues were not actually there. You are united as executive and as management in terms of your present. What happened? What? I know you would have said there are pressures and so forth, but one would want to really get a sense. At what point? What was the straw that would have broken the camel's back? What would have created this that seems like a very serious dysfunctionality and instability, which borders on the eyes of the public? My last question is, day in, day out, we're inundated with a lot of people complaining about non-payments and so forth. And I could even see on social channels now that there are a lot of people who want to ask questions relating to their claimants and so forth. What is the status of claims in your own understanding? And what are the bottlenecks in terms of payments for those who might have been awarded in courts and so forth but not been paid? If you could assist me with that, I'm safe in my part. Kindly, as much as you must be depth, but try to be as summative as possible.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Chair. Honorable Montana, I received my letter at 9:25 a.m. which was about 55 minutes into the meeting, your meeting of the 3rd of June. At 9:28, 9:25, meaning it's about 55 minutes after the meeting started, with a withdrawal letter that was signed at 9:47, and a withdrawal and a suspension letter that was signed at 9:51, well into the meeting. So, signed by the chair of the board. At 9:27, I received a phone call from the chair, and I did not answer because I was watching. And at 9:28, I received this SMS. It says, "Dear CEO, kindly note there are communication for your attention from the board in your inbox. Regards, Chairperson." I then respond because I didn't see it until later. When I checked my SMS, it was there. Then I answered at 9:48, and I said, "Dear Chairperson, I thought you were not available and had prior commitments. Nevertheless, I'll check my inbox once I've finished watching the PCOT meeting." Her response at 9:50 says, "Dear CEO, yes, I'm committed currently, but I'm able to discharge important things via phone. Kind regards." Then she tries to call me again, and she keeps on calling. So I said to her, "Excuse me, Chairperson, for legal reasons and the fact that our conversations are usually distorted, I would prefer that our conversation for now be reduced to in writing. My apologies. I just think it will be prudent at this stage." That I sent at 9:52. Now, it's up to you, Chair. The deputy chair sat there and said we gave him his letter before we came here. That is not true. So that's when I received my letter. So this support, Chair, I've worked at the Department of Transport for 10 years. I think 11 years as a CFO. I know the support we give to entities. It's not something that I know. Honorable Montana would know that when we were doing 2010, we were sitting there with them, asking them what the issues were. AXA would tell you the restructuring of AXA we were involved in. They would tell you, Sandra, even with these e-tolls, we sit and we look at this. And when entities of ours get financial problems, we are very close to them to try and assist them. It doesn't happen to RAF, at least since I've been there. By the way, when I was seconded in 2019 to this establishment, it was because it was collapsing and they were asking for a bailout. That's how I get myself to be there. And I was then appointed by then Minister Mbalula to go and try and turn this thing around. We advised the ministers, they would come to us, they will disagree or disagree, but I mean, advise people, then either take it or they don't, but they do meet with us. Have we ever met with the minister as the RAF board? No. No, it doesn't happen. Have we ever met with the deputy minister? No. Only once during a, what do they call it? The AGM, the annual general meeting where you bring your, that's a ministerial, it's actually the shareholders meeting, it's not your meeting. We have never met with them. When did the meeting ever happen? Yesterday. And I was not there, Chair. I don't know whether it's a coincidence, but I was not there. This meeting was supposed to actually come and you would see it in each and every meeting of the board. Can Chair please write to the ministry and ask them we want to meet with them? Then the question that lingers in my head is, when people come and say, well, we are going back to the RAPS bill, who's informing them, who's advising them, who's talking to them, how did they arrive at that point? Now, Honorable Gubega asked the question about the 50 billion, how it was saved. 30 billion was in legal fees. 14.5 billion was in medical fees. 4 billion was in payments to foreigners that are not supposed to get the money. And I'm going to come back to this because when we are going to deal with default judgments, you must understand that the Western Cape decision was a rescission. We were rescinding a decision that was taken on default. Now, that's how we make the 50 billion. Of course, there was a panel of actuaries that were charging us 10,000 per calculation. By the way, this medical fees are as a result of the hospitals and medical practitioners charging us 5 times what they charge a medical fee. As I told you, there are, I did not mention this part, there are tariffs that have been sitting with the ministry for more than 2 years. They've not been signed, those tariffs. And it's something that continues to worry us, because when those tariffs are there, it means that they can't be implemented. And soon we'll be told that these tariffs are out of kilter, and therefore it's unreasonable to expect people to charge those tariffs. As it happened in the during the Moseneke judgment of 2010, where we were told that we must go back, and I think it was Minister of Transport versus the LSSA, if I'm not mistaken. LSSA versus Minister of Transport and others, where we were told that we must go and make our own tariffs. It never happened until we started. And I think our tariffs, the first tariffs we issued is in 2021. But for 11 years, that had never been done. So, I see Honorable Gubega keeps on referring me as a former CEO. I would also think so if someone was taken away and he can't, yeah. This building, it's a very interesting phenomenon. Firstly, I never rubber stamp anything. It will never happen. The PAC is appointed by me. Although the lower committees might be appointed by someone else. They're appointed to advise me. And when they're appointed to advise me, I can reject their advice. Because ultimately, I can't delegate that accountability. I'm accountable ultimately for everything. I'm responsible for it, even if I gave someone to do it on my behalf. So, what had happened? We were in a building called Marble Towers. Below us, there were lawyers. Above, there were lawyers. You know, there are law firms that run around with logos of RAF on their cars. And that's one of the things I fought when I got there. When I saw it, I used to write to them, remove that logo. You are not RAF. But they were below and above in Marble Towers. What used to happen is that people that would...
What do you mean? So you share a building with lawyers?
Yes, we shared a building with lawyers.
That takes you to court?
And Marble Towers.
These are the lawyers that from...
Yes, these are plaintiff attorneys.
Plaintiff lawyers?
Yeah, plaintiff attorneys.
Okay. Listen, okay.
Yeah. So we shared the building with them. I arrived there. The first thing, I'm meeting regions. The first region I met was Pretoria. We looked at the building, not too bad. We owned the building. It's in Main Lane. Then we go to this Marble Towers for the first time. And this is what the union says to me. We have been in this building, we want to get out. This is not a living. Then I look at it, and they are right. You must look at the head office and look at Marble Towers. Chalk and cheese. You are sitting in your ivory towers there. You bring us here. We are not even safe and all that. And then, of course, there was a occupational health and safety that said this building is not good. We went in, we looked at it, and of course, the idea was that let's move. So I asked when I leave that meeting, what What must happen? Can we move these people out? I committed to them that I'm going to move you out of this building. So I asked them, how far are you? They said, no, the process is quite advanced and all that. I said, give me a report. The report comes to my office. Apparently, my office looks at it, they ask questions, and then someone withdraws the report, right, because of the questions that are asked. At that time, Chair, we were also dealing with the head office building. And there were certain things that are happening in the lease. For instance, in the head office building, one of the minimum requirements was 30,000 liters of capacity of water. How? Does Tshwane have a water problem? No. Why was this part of the requirements? No one could explain. What had happened was that even the building we are in now, which we decided to recommend to the board to extend, they were moving out of because it did not have water. And we were supposed to pay TI and all that. I think it was 120 million worth of cost. And I was that, let's do it. So we look at these things. We see it, okay. There's funny things that are put in the requirements and all that. And our idea was that, no. We're staying in this building. There we do. Then we go back. We meet with the... I look at the requirement. They had gone to the market, I think, 6 times. And they could not get a building on Johannesburg. So I go and I meet with the National Treasury. They had said to them somewhere in 2018, please go and look at government buildings. And remember, I worked at PRASA, so I knew that they are government buildings. So I went, I think we approached PRASA, Transnet, and I said, go to PIC as well. So we approached PIC. PIC says we don't manage our buildings. PRASA says, no, you're going to have to help us. I don't know which building it was, but they were saying that we must actually help them renovate and do it. And I said, no, that's not what we can do. And I think Transnet did not have a requirement. And PIC then said to us, the people that manage our buildings is Moana Properties. That's where Moana comes. So we go to Moana Properties, okay, PIC buildings, so they manage them. Remember, the owner is GPF. If you look at our lease, we've signed it with GPF. We go there, they've got 3 buildings, right? Got 3 buildings, we choose a team, we say go and look at those buildings. They're government buildings. They check them. Then they like this one. It's a former BP building. There was not a lot to do on it for people to move in. And remember, I promised people we were going to move you. So we do that. They tell us the TI, and we sign. We recommend the list to be signed by the board. The board signs it. We even explain this is a process. Lucky enough, Chair, sometimes fate works in its own way. We still had to get the approval of the National Treasury for us. Not these days you don't, but then you had to go to the office of the Chief Procurement Officer, CPO, and ask for approval. They looked at it, we presented, they approved. We then agreed, the board approved it on condition that the National Treasury does that. And then we went into the building. Moana as state-owned. By the way, Moana is 100% owned by Pareto, who's 100% owned by GPF. Those who know will tell you that GPF owns that. They can explain, and no one is calling them. No one is asking Pareto, is he right, is he wrong? They're starting with stories. But this is a GPF building, Chair. We went in, yes, it was even cheaper than the previous building. And the costs are there, they were calculated. And then they come to me, I look at them, I agree, I sign, it goes to the board looks at it, we present, and the board agrees, and then that's how we got into that building. Now, is there capture at RAF? Yes, a lot of it. A lot of capture. And those that don't want to care, or some of us that refuse to be captured, will be called names. We're invited to all sort of manner of things, Chair. We refuse in the space of what we do. Are people capture? Yes, there are people that capture spaces. And RAF, Chair, it's a 48 billion economy. You must understand it. And if you want to understand it, you must understand it in the context of your PRASA. Probably their budget is at 25 billion now, or 30 billion. Ours is 48. Sanral, I think they're sitting at 33. I don't know what SAA is, should be lower. AXA is even lower than us. I think it's less than 10 billion, 10. But there's a difference about RAF. This is cash. There you have got to build a road, people must see it, and then you must spend. No, this is cash. People make money just by filling forms. Okay? And then you disperse this cash. And you must understand it as that economy. Fundamentally, you could sit there, Chair, and exchange a few things and make, let's just say the claimant gets 10 million. You can get 2.5 million easily like that because people just take 25% of whatever the amount. And I'm even told that these days they want to claim that disbursements that have to, if they had hired a senior counsel, it does not form part of that. You must call the legal services ombud to come. He must explain to you the difficulties of our people coming out of there. So, the more time you take in settling a claim, the more money the lawyer makes. It's a fact. Factual. So, that's why you would see, we say, give us the information. RAF Form 1, give us all the information so we can settle your claim. They take us to court. We say, chaps, medical aids, no man, you can't do that. There is this Medical Schemes Act that says whatever. Court. We say, let's bring the medical tariffs, court. Anything we have done at the RAF is taken to court. And they said to me, well, we don't have to pay legal fees. We are lawyers. We just draft the papers and you see. So we want to change the model, court, Mabunda versus others. We'll get to it, Chair, because that 4 billion, you'll see how people want to play it. This so-called, they went and terminated an internal legal whatever that was assisting them. You must read the judgment of Ketsekele versus the RAF. It will give you a story about that. In fact, it says that the panel or the funds the legal representative were complicit in the scheme to fleece the RAF. It's not me. It's there in court papers. But you will see. So who wants to capture the RAF? The people that continue to chow in the RAF. So, Chair, this 30 billion, we took it from the likes of De Broglie, the likes of Gertnel and Associates, and every other top-level law firms. And that's a fact. Okay, so when they fight, you are not surprised. They pride themselves by fighting. By the way, they killed RAPs, and they pride themselves with that. Now, Honorable Shikombane says, is there corruption within RAP? Yeah, well, one of my predecessors and one of my mentors once said to me, you can never finish corruption unless you... That's the reality. How we got it? There's a lady that came to me crying, I got money. Discovery is taking it. And I said, what do you mean? She says, no, they are taking it. They are saying it's our money. My lawyer gave my money to Discovery. Yeah. They are claiming. You want to discover? What does that even mean? So we went and we looked. And that's how we discovered this 500 million a year. Okay? Okay? So, it will come back, Chair. And the deputy chair must answer this. The deputy chair of our board must answer this. Whether she was not at 360 Health, and whether 360 Health does not manage CISO Medical Aid, and whether CISO Medical Aid has ever claimed from RAF, even during the time she's on this board.
Repeat that for record.
Let's start here. Our deputy chair once applied for a position as CEO of RAF and she didn't get it. Okay? She gets appointed to the board, right? After complaining about not getting the position. Then she's on the board. But when she's on the board, she is a CEO of a company called 360 Health, which is a medical scheme management company like Discovery Health. Okay? They manage Sizwe Medical Scheme. Sizwe Medical Scheme has been claiming from RAF during that period. And you can understand the fight between us and Discovery and whether what position she will sit in when it comes to that. But we'll get to that. Now, the issue around Honorable Shkwambani says issues of governance. I must say, Chair, when I was sitting at home, I was shocked when I was told no. Actually, the first thing that shocked me was a letter that says you have been placed on special leave. And I phoned board members. I was like, what's going on? And they say, what? We are not aware. So they check the letter. The letter gets sent to me before it gets sent to them. They then say, but this is not our decision. Until today, there's never been a serious board meeting that discusses that. Now, the issue about the CEO position is a very strange phenomenon because, as I said, we sat in a meeting where the issue around reappointment was mentioned. It was not mentioned by us. We can give you, if you look at my papers, actually it's in there. That indicates very clearly what must happen when reappointment is being done. Is there interference from the ministry? Absolutely. Absolutely. So the main person, the minister, I don't know about the minister, I don't remember her, but I know that the deputy minister has got a very serious interest about this because I do not think that she wrote to other entities and asked them the same and that they must advertise positions.
You see he?
There?
He.
Yes. The deputy minister.
I'm saying, you are saying she, he.
Oh, he. Oh, yes. I don't think he did that. Because, firstly, the RAF board, every time they receive a letter from the ministry, they panic. And then they ask for a legal opinion. Even in this instance where they received that, they asked for a legal opinion. There was a meeting that was held, apparently instructing this, and they asked for a legal opinion. They must give you that legal opinion. And then from there, I would not know exactly what happened, but what I know is that on the 14th of May was the last day on our 360. People did 360. They must give you the outcome of that 360. Because I don't think that it was paid using state money, so I'm sure you deserve to know. My view is that it didn't come as the way they thought, because in the 360 chair, LSSA was there to assess me, lawyers. I think BLA was there to assess me. The medical fraternity was there to assess me. I'm telling you about people. When I say 50 billion went, these are the people that are included in the 50 billion that we took away. So you must understand it in that context. I just said, let it be done. My rights are known. I'll defend them if there's a need. So then there is an issue around security. I think, look, who wants to kill you? Hey, I don't know, I've got so many enemies. And most of them as a consequence of RAF. My children are protected. And against that issue of bringing assets back, I have refused to bring the assets back because I still want those protectors to use those cars to make sure that my children are safe. But my children did not apply for a position at RAF. So there was that assessment that was done that my children must also be protected. Right? So we had to do a lot of other things. But there was a time when armed people, armed assassins, full in an H1, broke through, held people at the RAF, the security at the gate and then went in. Lucky enough, that day we had a board meeting, it ended late, but it was online. So I think they got their wires mixed that they would still be there because we are people that actually work after hours. So that happened. And then there was a time when I had to be evacuated from a stadium because there was a hit on me. And we picked up that the heat was coming from the taxi industry. That I've discussed with the state security agency. So yes, they know about that. So there are cases as well that are opened there, Chair. So that's the truth. Now,
are you concluding?
Now I'm coming to Honorable Governor.
Okay.
Misconduct allegation, 79 million. I think I've dealt with that 79 million, Dean. Are you cleaning up the entity? Of course. It's very strange. These days, the so-called whistleblowers are everyone else that we have either fired, had problems with us when we arrived. These people that had mixed allocations and all that, suddenly these people are the best. They are whistleblowers. They are coming back. And then people tell them right so that we can act on it. We know. They meet with them, they tell them that. And we know that we have got evidence to that effect. In fact, I know those people by name, right? Now, the letter received, I wrote, I said, Honorable Member, that I received my letter on the 27th. Actually, I received it because I read it on the 28th in the morning. Before then, I did not know that I was on special leave. That's why I was somewhere here. It was, like I said, it was a shock. On the 30th of May, I write to them, and what I say to them is that your conduct is unlawful. I can't be there. Because I went and checked our leave policy. I signed that leave policy, I know it. I don't remember at any point where you can be given special leave without asking for it. And when they were confronted with that in this very room, they then started saying things. There's a lot of things. And I'm like, hey man, it was not SIU anymore. No, he didn't want to come here. Then when, as they do, every time someone wants to answer, especially the acting CEO, when he said, no, we have never been instructed to not come to Scopa at all. It was their decision. I'm telling you, Chair, until today, as I know it, unless it changed after I was then put on suspension, the 20th of May decision not to go to Scopa has never been changed. Can't answer that. It has never been rescinded. So the decision not to come to Scopa is a board decision. You would see it in the letter of the 22nd of May to Scopa to say we are not coming. For that reason, please postpone. So the story that I said I'm not coming is not true as well to Scopa. Look at the last letter that we sent, I think around 4:25 on the 27th. It says, can you please postpone? So the story that I was not coming to Scopa is not true. Then when we realized that, they're not going to move the meeting, they're not going to postpone, guys, there's an instruction from the board, let's all go. Then I land here, and then I'm told that I can't come here. She signs this special leave thing at 5:30. You see? Conveniently, it's not sent to me. I'm leaving at 9. It's only get to me at 10 to 11 when they know I'm airborne. There's nothing I can do about it. So those are the facts. Then I write to them again on the 31st, because I then realized something. They then lied to board members and said they could not find me from the 24th to the 25th on a weekend. I had gone AWOL. Firstly, Chair, 24th and 25th of May, were weekend. RAF does not open during weekends, and I don't think that I must ask for leave. I could have been anywhere. But it's also not true. When you go and look at it, I've written it. It's in my papers as well. 36 minutes I spoke to the company, it's not company, board secretariat. I spoke to him on the phone. And you won't see any missed call because they lied. They just went and lied. Or misrepresented, as the chair would like to have it. But I mean, if you say, I can't find someone, I've got a PA, they never called my PA. I've got an office manager, they never called those people. Neither have they ever called me and got a missed call. So I've proved that, I've put that in there. Which office have you told? I went back to the chair and I said, if you are saying I must bring back assets, this includes vehicles. No, this includes vehicles. Those vehicles, one of them is an armored vehicle. A couple of them are actually armored vehicles. For obvious reasons, that the hit that was taken on me was never going to be with the 9mm. It was going to be a serious thing. So the idea of getting me an armored vehicle, now I must take it back. And I said, no, I can't. And then their lawyers came back and said, bring back the car. And that's what also made us to rush to court. Because the view was that, no, let's also challenge that. So we are saying that, what are we challenging? We are challenging the suspension and its subsequent instructions and conditions. So that's what we are challenging, Chair. It's a matter of public knowledge. It's there on the papers. The papers, apparently, they are doing rounds in social media, so they are there. Honorable Maduna, the building, I've said it, the BAC comes to me, I don't rubber stamp anything, I would never do that, because then it's my issue, so I went and it belongs to the GPF. The issue of the accounting standards, it's a board decision. Processed accounting standards, it's a board decision. Processed properly.